All right, should we do it?
Yeah.
You guys ready to go?
Let's do it.
Yeah. Do I hit it first and then say it? All right, I'll call this school committee meeting to order. And first, if you're able, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you very much. First item, well, actually, real quick, obviously this is being broadcast via YouTube and Facebook Live and also on public access channels. I'd encourage everyone who's watching at home to please drop comments in either of those platforms or send questions to questions@middleborough.k12.ma.us. And we will have some members of our committee watching those for your questions. All right, so the first item on the agenda is public comment. And just as a reminder, this is for items that are not on the agenda. So does anyone have anything that they'd like to say about anything not on the agenda? All right, come on right up. Just say your name and go for it.
And we noticed one of the things we found about this community is there's a good sense of community here. So as we've gone through these last couple months, we're finding that the culture here is great, that we see a lot of extra things happening, not the education piece, but like the other little details, like, you know, everybody dressing up for Halloween or your spirit weeks or pumpkin decorating. These are the little things that don't always happen in other schools that really create a culture here that, I don't know, that changes the whole dynamic of school. With all the other parts of school.
Okay.
We
can hear
other
you.
parts of school that sometimes are missing in other areas. So that's huge. I've noticed a big difference. So I just wanted to thank you for that. And I also noticed that in some of these, I like to see some of the photos that the kids are, you know, things that are happening and what's going on, but I see a lot of discrepancies. And one of those bulletins that came through from the high school, it was actually not a school event, but it was the town meeting, I guess, and it was highlighting the kids that came to help. And while I appreciate that Middleborough really allows for public accommodation laws to occur, what I noticed in this picture, let me get it out here, is that while all the children are masked, the adult in the picture doesn't have to wear a mask, and all the adults in the background don't have to wear a mask. So it seems like adults are able to make decisions based on what they think is appropriate for them at that moment and that time, but the children are held to a different standard. And so when I see these things, and I like all this culture that I see and happening, I want to see these smiles on these kids' faces, and this really is disheartening that we have a different standard for our children that's been placed on us by these whatever exigent circumstances are that exist in these buildings that aren't really clear to me. And interestingly, some of those people that are making those decisions, like DESE, and people that are influencing it, like the Massachusetts School Committee Association, who had a conference this past week, where masks now in the community, everywhere else, there's no exigent circumstances. So people could choose to make their own decision. And this conference was held in a place where they could make their own decision. But this school committee association made this a mask required event. However, when you go on to, this was a photographed event, and the entire event, school committee members, no masks. 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 These weren't just during meal times. These were all the time. There were a couple pictures with masks here and there. Commissioner Riley, no mask. Oh, look, you know, he's at the podium, so maybe that means when you're at the podium, you don't need to wear a mask. I'm not really clear because these rules are so arbitrary. And the people who are affecting these rules and influencing them on our children are doing this. The rules are for the children, but not for them. They say these are the rules, and they are influencing you and forcing your hand into doing something, and they do not hold up to their own rules. These are hypocrites, and this is disgusting, and we need to stand up to this. This is not okay. There is no state of emergency, and there's no exigent circumstance in this school that makes anything different to wearing a mask here then you need to do it in the supermarket, then you need to do it at Target, then you need to wear it at Fisher's. If you are choosing to wear a mask because you have decided that that is the best choice for you, that's great. If you are choosing to not wear a mask, that's great. You need to do what you think is best for you, and we need to do that to our children. Right now, we are punishing them, and this is abuse. And I'm encouraging you we need to take the next step again to do what we can to push back against the state, against DESE, against these influential people like the Mass School Committee Association, against MTA, everybody who seems to think the rules are not for them, but they're for our children, who are the least at-risk population.
Thank you, Ms. Carnes. And I think I can certainly say about the picture that you referenced, if there was a situation that the kids were required to be masked, the adults should have been as well. And I'm sure that that will be addressed.
Well, I'm sure, public accommodation is great, and I'm glad that we recognize here that the laws for public accommodation that allow for people who are unable to wear a mask can still be at a public event in a public building unencumbered, and there's no legal action that can be taken. But this seems really weird that every time I see pictures, I see adults unmasked. And again, this is a town meeting, this isn't a school-run function, but all these children have been conditioned to wear masks. And while all these adults get to choose what they want to do. So I feel like this is unfair, and they're just being punished. And I see it again, sometimes, I saw this beautiful shot of all these elementary teachers dressed up as Disney princesses, and I was like, wow, look at all those happy faces. And then every single child that had a Halloween costume on was masked. Masked, 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 masked. But all those adults in a group picture inside with their smiling faces made a choice to have a mask break during that 30-second it took to take a shot. And I'm pretty sure we can take mask breaks for 30 seconds to take pictures of our children so we can see their smiling faces. I saw a beautiful video that was produced by I'm assuming the TV production group that was about this whole Middleborough school. Such a phenomenal video. I'm impressed by everything you guys are doing here, from the music to the narration. And I had to rewind that video I'm like, I think that's my kid. Wait, rewind, rewind, rewind. It's my kid. And I couldn't tell because she's masked. So I really feel like we need to start talking about how long these exigent circumstances are going on, and what is the undue influence that we are bound to following DESE's rules that they don't follow themselves. So that's just what I wanted to talk about tonight. And I'll wait for number 6 to bring up the next part.
Thanks. Anyone else for public comment? Yep, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Craig. I spoke to you guys back in August, was 25th, I believe. And the chairman, I don't know his name, unfortunately, I'm very sorry. I asked what would happen if we did not follow these mandates. You were all here. I will recite to you what he said to me was that DESE could take our school district into receivership. I know a little bit about receivership. I know how Massachusetts enjoys its power. Makes sense to me. My only problem is that I have done a fair amount of research over the last 6 weeks, and I can't find that factoid backed up by anywhere on either the Massachusetts state website or DESE's state website. I'm not going to ask you for the statute right now, but by Friday, I would really appreciate if somebody could get back to me with the exact rule, statute, line, paragraph, etc., that gives DESE the right to take over a school district based on a mandate on which there's no actual legal precedent. Mandates are not laws. Laws are passed by a legislative body, not appointed politicians, which is exactly what Riley, I think his name is, whatever, I don't even care. I found that there is a reason DESE can take over a school district. It's for chronically underperforming school districts. That was one of the criteria the chairman listed. I've been told, I can't verify this myself, that the Department of Revenue is allowed to take into receivership a school district that has failed to meet its financial obligations. But I have found zero evidence at all in any of the state websites that, and at this point, I've made about 14 or 15 calls to DESE probably as many emails. They have just straight up stopped responding to me. I'll be handling that with a lawyer. But I have an issue here that I would like to know, is this a situation where the chairman was given information by somebody and he accepted that information and did not do any further research, which I'm guilty of it, everybody's guilty of it, because when you get told a factoid by somebody you trust and you don't think they have a reason to lie to you, generally you accept it as fact. So I'm curious, was this just a simple issue of improper information given to somebody? Or is this a situation where I can't necessarily trust the word of my school committee? I want to give you guys the benefit of the doubt. I'm not accusing you of lying. I'm just concerned that something so vital as how a school district could be taken into receivership by the state was so poorly explained to the public. I guess that's a question I would like to direct to the chairman, but I don't see him. That's, like I said, I will be reaching out to the, probably the superintendent's office for an answer for this by next Friday, because I truly want to make sure that I'm not missing something and I'm not just not finding the information that I'm looking for. Because if this is a situation where that's the case, then you know what, I prefer to be informed, and I'd like to know where my mistake is that I'm not finding the information. And I'm really hoping it's not the case, that we were just misled on purpose. My second question, and I can't stick around for Desi's letter, unfortunately, because my kids are at home with my mother. This test and stay policy. My neighbor, her 10-year-old was recently exposed, apparently, and she has decided to opt out of test and stay. Her response was, I'm going to take my child to his pediatrician and get him tested. The information I've been given from this parent is that the school and the school nurse and the head of nursing has decided that despite going to get the same exact test that would be administered, that child is still not eligible to return to school for 5 days. That child is also not given any work, and there is no accommodation made for that child to continue learning at home. Now, thankfully, this child is 10, a little bit more able to stay at home by himself than my 5-year-old daughter. I have also opted out of that. So I would like to know why there is no plan in place to accept tests being done by doctors' offices who are medical professionals with licenses. Why is that not an acceptable means to send a child back to school without having to wait 5 days? Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't have that much time off from work. Neither does my wife. And I can't just leave my 5-year-old at home for 5 days. So that is also something I will be emailing the superintendent about, because to me, you guys put this policy in place, and you absolutely dropped the ball when it comes to making sure that these students were not going to be negatively affected by your decisions. It happens, but now that it's happening, we need a plan to rectify it and make sure that this is not negatively affecting these children's education. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Meeting, and all the students were also confused on why they weren't wearing masks. So Mr. Brannigan and the students there did question it, and once the meeting began, everyone in the auditorium were required to put on masks. So I just wanted to put that out there.
All right. I think we will get back to Mr. Craig and also to you on the questions that you guys had, unless you wanted to address anything there. Oh, I'm sorry. It's public comment, so we can't actually discuss it. We can't. If you had something additional you wanted to add, of course, please do.
Actually, I did have a question.
As long as it's not on the agenda.
I don't think it's on the agenda. He just brought something to my mind when he was asking about the receivership, because this was a question we were told previously that if we didn't follow Desi's rules, we would be taken into receivership. And there's a lot of parents that are looking into that, and we're really finding that the only reason you can be taken into receivership is for, like he suggested, underperforming scores, which is not the case in Middleborough. So can we be taken into receivership for another reason?
And like I said, so the way public comment is
You don't
formatted,
get to
we
answer
literally
questions.
can't reply to
Okay,
you.
and then there's this ESSR2 funding that is
Yeah.
federal money that comes to the state that then, are we beholden? So this is the question I guess you need to get back to us, is by taking this money, are we now bound? Is that what binding us to DESE, following DESE's rules, is by taking this grant money? This is like blood money. Is this what's happening? Is we taking this money? I think Middleborough was about $1,500 per student, if I recall. Was that money intended kind of a contract that if you take this money, it was you needed to follow the rules? So I guess that's a question I need to understand. Is that why we're bound to this and we can't say, you know what, we're not participating in these exigent circumstances that don't exist, that are made up, that don't, and you know, the other piece of that whole guidance that was put out was about how in alignment with statewide guidance. So if we are in alignment with statewide guidance allows for choice. So statewide guidance is not that everybody has to wear a mask. Statewide guidance is it's recommended. So I feel like if we're in alignment with statewide guidance, then it's recommended and you do you. So I guess the question is, I want to know about the funding. Is the funding what's tying us to this mask rule?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Does anyone else have anything under public comment that's not on tonight's agenda? Come on up. Just give us your name and go for it.
Yeah, Pam Caffrey, 502 Wareham Street. And I came tonight to talk because I need your help. I have been having an ongoing problem with the Specialized Transportation Department. And I'm at my wit's end, pretty much. My son Dean has had an IEP in the Middleborough school system for over 16 and a half years. And that IEP, every IEP, one of the major portions of it is for transportation. That part of transportation is then specified needs, accommodations, modifications that are necessary when they do ride the bus to and from school. It's a legally binding contract that needs to be upheld. And I've never had any problem. Dean is a senior this year. But since the beginning of this school year, in fact, I've had to take Dean off the bus because of my feelings for the way the transportation department is being run. There has been absolutely no training whatsoever for any new bus monitors or new bus drivers. The communication, it began for me the first day of ESY when nobody came to pick Dean up. There was no communication and no time to be picked up. So I had to drive him. And then I continued to drive him because I don't think it's with special ed and the special needs students that begin at 3.5 years old, a baby riding these buses, that we take their needs and their safety lightly. And so when I see that things aren't being done that should be, or that there is no transparency in this department, no communication, no need, absolutely no consideration for the kids. The transportation department, specialized transportation department, is there for our kids, whether they're homeless, foster care, or special ed. They are all in need of this specific transportation. And I would think that we would hire someone whose first priority would be the safety and welfare of these kids, some who are nonverbal, like my son Dean was for many, many years. And I'm 1 foot out the door. But what I do worry for are the hundreds of kids and parents that don't know how the transportation department should work, or don't know or have a voice. There have been no bus evacuation drills. And that is scary. Bus drivers and monitors, and I'm not saying our present ones, I'm saying that the turnover rate has been so great since this new transportation department supervisor was hired. In the event of an emergency on these special ed buses, these mini buses, you are talking about children that begin at 3.5 to 22 that are nonverbal, maybe physically impaired, maybe mentally, emotionally. And in the event of emergency, no one on that bus knows how to evacuate those children. There are no training to know that student. They are given, now the department is given a spreadsheet by our coordinators of special ed. There's one in every school. But you would be surprised, I was shocked that no matter who, and I went up the chain of meetings, I spoke to everyone. Some were way more helpful than others, but nobody was able to tell me how that's implemented once it gets to the special ed transportation department. Come to find out, it is not implemented. It is ignored. There is no, it is not done where these monitors or new bus drivers are trained to understand these kids, what behaviors they may find, or what accommodations they may need getting on or off a bus, or how to diffuse a situation that may develop on a bus if a child is, has an outburst, or whatever the case may be. And it's very unsettling that I have to drive my son to and from school every single day because I can't trust that department. At the very beginning, and I still don't. I get more of a response from Sarah and thankfully and very quickly. And that's great, but it's not solving my problem. My son is not on the bus. And I don't understand why there has been no training, why we aren't taking a much more proactive. I get so upset because it's just, it's a specialized population that her job would not exist if it weren't for my child or the other children in this school district. And the fact that I find she works part-time is never, if I make a call, there's never anyone there to pick it up. I have to constantly leave a message, hope she's made those hours to come in that day. I've never seen such a flexible schedule with somebody that is not there for the parents. We're not there for her. She's supposed to be, that department is there for us. And I need to see a change. I need to see why. I need somebody to help me because I have not gotten that help. And in 16 and a half years, I can't believe I'm standing here when we have one of the best special ed departments, the men and women that through the schools that work and give so much. And the bus is just an afterthought. And yet it is in their IEPs. It is specified. And if we have the wrong person running this department and she doesn't have any special ed experience or doesn't know what an IEP is or what services she's supposed to uphold, then we need to look into that. And I would like someone to look into that because that's literally the tip of the iceberg with this department.
I want to thank you for bringing the concerns to us for sure. And I think we'd like to follow up with you about this. Can you just give me your name one more time?
Pam Caffrey, Caffrey.
All right. Thank you very much for coming, and
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Do we have anything else under public comment? Okay. Yep. Come on up. And just give us your name and then say what you want to say.
Yeah, my name is Kenny Robinson. My son is one of those children who was around somebody who got COVID. He got sent home, and he decided, we decided for him to not do the test and stay. We as well brought our son to the pediatrician and got a negative test. He as well was not able to, even with a negative test, to come back to school for 2 or 3 more days. And I think, like that other gentleman said, there has to be something done about that. There is no reason why a person in the school committee can give a child a test, and that's fine, but his own pediatrician can't, and we can't send our son back, or son or daughter back to school. I mean, he's missing school. He had a big project, all worried about it because he didn't know what to do with it, trying to contact teachers. I mean, this is his education, and there's something that needs to be done because he had a negative COVID test. So, I mean, and like I said, he could not return back to school. He was able to as of today.
And could you give me your name one more time? We'd like to follow up as well.
Yeah, Kenny Robertson.
All right. Thank you, Kenny. We'd just like to consult with the
Yeah.
district coordinator of nursing and get back to you on that.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Anything else under public comment? Okay. Let's move on to reports from school committee members. Does anyone have anything they want to report? No? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to reports from the MEA co-presidents who we have here today. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I skipped someone important. Are you going to? Okay, sorry. Nope, go for it.
Good evening. Thank you for having us today. We don't have a lot to report on today, and Kate and I usually tend to divide things up so we both have something to say. But I'm going to let Kate go ahead and give our report. Thank you, Sam. Really nothing much to report other than that, school continues on. We have begun Q2 at the high school. At the elementary level, parent-teacher conferences are concluding this week. Sorry. And also at the elementary and middle school, the trimester grades close at the very beginning of December, and that's about all we have at the moment.
All right. Well, does anyone have any questions? No? All right. Well, we appreciate you guys coming and for the report, and thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So now we'll move on to a report from our student representative, Ms. Natalia Parkinson. Take it away.
Beginning with the MEC is learning and having fun every day. The students have been engaged in a lot of fall-themed lessons and activities and are getting ready for the winter and the holidays. They have enjoyed this nice weather and continue to take advantage of these outdoor recess days. They had their first open house and family conferences and are getting ready to wrap up the first term and celebrate Thanksgiving. For the MKG wrapped up a great week of parent-teacher conferences this week. Their grade 3 students are excited to be visiting Plymouth Patuxent next week. Lastly, they would like to wish all of the Middleborough community a happy Thanksgiving. For the HBB, they just wrapped up their annual HBB Big Blast, which was a huge success. Thank you to all the parent and teacher volunteers who helped make this event happen. It was great being able to host this event after not being able to do so over the past couple of years. The kids and parents were all dressed in their costumes and had a great time. The students are enjoying their revamped playground area. Over the summer, the maintenance department had the back area repaved and more grass area was installed. And over the past week, the PTA funded new basketball hoops, which were installed along with the brand new fence. Lastly, HBB is hosting the Holiday Shop Book Fair again this year so that kids can have a chance to shop for gifts while also visiting the book fair. The Holiday Shop will be held on December 7th and 8th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. And on December 9th, both the book fair and Holiday Shop will be open from 5:30 to 8 p.m. For Nichols Middle School, the Builders Club just finalized their cluster decorating contest, and the theme was Unity. Students did a fantastic job representing unity and Tiger Pride. Well done to the 6 teams that participated. Currently, each classroom is creating a vision board. Then each cluster will vote on the top vision board to represent their cluster area. The final vision boards will go against other teams and grades until there is a final winner. Winter sports signups are now open for basketball, swim team, and wrestling, and indoor track is open for 8th graders only. Saturday, December 4th, from 9 to 12, the PTA is coordinating a clothing and textile drop-off. The goal is to collect 278 bags or more. Any funding raised through this effort will help support school field trips. And lastly, for MHS, last Friday, the MHS Student Council hosted over 20 schools at the Southeastern Massachusetts Association of Student Councils Fall Conference. Last Monday, November 15th, report cards for the first term were posted on Aspen. The annual Powder Puff football game will be held next Monday, November 22nd, at the MHS Stadium from 6 to 7 p.m. Following the game, the Turkey Games will be hosted by the Student Council, where classes will be put up against each other as they battle for points towards the class cup. Winter sports are now open for signups on Family ID. Sports will begin when we return from Thanksgiving break. The MHS cheerleading team will advance to the state championship next Sunday at Worcester State University. We are wishing you the best of luck. Anyone interested in joining Key Club, meetings are on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. in C149. Anyone interested in attending a GSA meeting, they can attend in C158 on Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. Yes Club meetings are also held on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. in room C159. You can see Mr. Harris or Ms. McGurk for any questions. The members of the National Honor Society are offering a program to all students in all classes, allowing for weekly meetings with a one-on-one tutor. This is a free tutoring opportunity. Please reach out to Mr. Goldman if you are interested. And finally, a reminder to all senior families that senior pictures are due by this Monday, November 22nd.
Thank you very much. Any members of the committee have any questions for Natalia? No? Well, thanks as always for putting this together. All right. So we will move on then to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee, members in the audience. I'll provide with you some of the facts that we have with regard to COVID updates in the community and the school community specifically that we have. Right now, as of yesterday from Jacqueline Johnson in the Middleborough Department of Public Health, the community positivity rate remains well under 2% at 0.04%. There were 16 new cases yesterday morning, and the current community count is up to 93 cases. It was down into the 30s a couple weeks ago. It's up to 93 in the community. Again, and as we've said before, the current cases appear, at least for school children, to be mild symptoms, and the pattern of spread seems to be in families, where one family member gets it and the entire family ends up positive. Those are the recent trends from Jacqueline Johnson, who's a nurse with the Middleborough Department of Public Health. In terms of the school system, we've seen a spike. Basically, we're up to 30 as of today, 30 positive cases in the district. Not specific to one school, fairly widespread throughout the school community. There are 6 at the MEC, there are 4 at the HPB, there are 7 at the MKG, 6 at the John T. Nichols School, and 7 at the high school currently. And that's as of this afternoon, or late this afternoon. So that rate is up to 30. It's stayed around there. It's been down lower. It's certainly going up higher, and we're hoping that spike does not continue. I would tell you that there has been talk, and we've talked before, and we've discussed this openly about the fact that there was this 80% number that was floated out there for school systems. If they hit that 80%, they could apply to the DEAS to go with a mask optional. And right now in Middleborough, I reported out on October 5th, or the October 5th data, that there were 40% in the 12 to 15-year-old category of vaccinations, 60% in the 16 to 19-year-olds, and 55% in the community overall. And I will report as of November 9th, a month and change later, the 12 to 15-year-old population is up to 42% vaccination rate. The 16 to 19-year-old is up to 61%, and the town overall is 58%. So we don't even approach that 80% where we would even have that discussion. I would also tell you that we received on October 26th another directive from the Board of Education, the Commissioner, and he wrote that consistent with the, quote, consistent with the authority provided by the board, and after consulting with the medical experts and state health officials, the Commissioner is extending the mask requirement through at least January 15th, 2022. The department will continue to work with medical experts and state health officials to evaluate the mask requirement beyond January 15th, close quote. So that's the current status of us. The mask requirement that was extended till November is now extended through January 15th, and at that time will be reevaluated. Hopefully our numbers will be down, our community numbers will be down, our state numbers will be down, so we can get to the point where we go ahead with, like we did in the summer, with mask optional. But we're not at that point right now, and the Department of Education and the Commissioner have released that latest number. I don't know if you have any questions from the board with regard to those numbers. That's the latest data we have as of today. The number may change, that 30 number may change. There may be a couple of students who go out for tomorrow, or there might be additional students who come in, depending on the spread. So,
as we know, that gets updated 4 p.m. on Fridays.
that gets updated by 4 p.m. On Fridays.
Okay.
Yes, that COVID dashboard that's on the district website. So that's basically my COVID update for the district for this evening.
Sure.
So.
And I see some questions out there. I'll just throw it to the board first. Any questions for Mr. Lynch on that topic? No? All right, Ms. Kearns?
Yes, so 30 students across the district, so what's the percent positivity rate?
1%,
About 1%?
just
Okay.
about 1%. We have about 3,000 students in the district.
Okay, so about 1% or a little less than 1%. So what is that? So you said hopefully we'll get that number down to what? Because 1% is really like 99% of the school is really, really healthy and doing fine. So what is the down to what? What
Ms.
is
Kearns,
the
our hope is
benchmark?
to get the number down to 0.
That's theoretically impossible. You can't do it. So
But that is our hope.
you can't do it. So you can't, there's no way for you to get to 0. So what point does the mask come off? Because you cannot eliminate a virus that is here forever, that's always going to be here. So what is the number? It's not 0.
At the point where the board and the Department of Education allow us to unmask.
So again, it's just DESE is making arbitrary rules. We have no idea. 1 is a pretty significantly low, statistically low number. I'm going to reframe it. It's 99% of our kids are really healthy and nobody is transmitting really in school. You said it's within these family units. It's not transmitting in school. So why is there an exigent circumstance in school and 0 is not, it's not possible? You cannot eliminate viruses from the planet. It can't happen. So it's not a number that is going to ever be acceptable by me. And you need to push back to DESE. You need to say to DESE, this is not realistic. 0 is not the number.
Thank you.
Mr. Lynch, I would just jump in and say a lot of us have reached out to DESE, and we did take a lot of what you said at the last meeting into our letter, which we will talk about, but we certainly have asked and pushed them for some additional information on that.
Okay, and 0 is not going to be acceptable, and 1's pretty damn low, and the community is at 0.4%. Is that what you said?
Yes.
0.4%.
0.04 actually in the community.
0.04
In the
community
community,
spread.
yes.
And I just wanted to point out, I'm not sure if any of you are paying attention to some of the what's going on in other communities, but what we're seeing is that the communities that seem to have the highest vaccination rates seem to have the higher positivity rates, and the communities that have lower vaccination rates, like this community, seem to have lower positivity rates, which is opposite of what you're supposed to expect with high vaccination rates. So if you look at Marion or Mattapoisett, which they are touting these 90 and 95% community vaccination rates, they're higher than their other tri-town Rochester, which is low, and they're having lower community. And you're seeing that globally as well. So high vaccination rates are not correlating with low positivity rates.
So I just basically have a question of accountability. So you guys said you can apply to DESE when there's an 80% vaccination rate in the town, the district. We're clearly not going to get there in Middleborough. So are we just, like, at what point are you guys going to say to Desi, listen, enough is enough. Kids aren't wearing masks because it's unnecessary and this needs to end. So when is it going to be enough for you guys to actually say that?
I think the question that we asked of Desi in our letter about the 80% threshold would get us a little closer to having an answer for you on that. But I can't say I have enough information at this point to give you that answer. But when we receive a response back from Desi, I think we could.
Wait, so you asked them when you get close,
Yeah,
can you just repeat what you said?
we asked them about the 80% number
Yeah.
and the authority given, how did they even have the authority to do that, and examples of how we would handle the 80% vaccination threshold. So we don't have those answers from Desi, and so I couldn't give you a thoughtful answer at this point.
I know, but I almost feel like you shouldn't need an answer from Desi. Like, you guys should be able to troubleshoot this on your own based on our community here in Middleborough. I mean, we're clearly doing well in this district. I mean, it's not necessary. So when do you guys push back to the point that you tell them that it doesn't matter what their guidance is, because this is what we're going to do in Middleborough? Like, when does it get there? Like 5 years down the road when they're still telling us 2 more months, 3 more months? Enough is enough. I mean, you have to stop being accountable to this town and stop doing what you're told. That's what you are elected to do.
Thank
You need to take some accountability. I'm sorry. You can't just sit there and act like you can't do anything. Enough is enough.
Sure, go ahead, Meg.
Well, I think we are taking accountability.
How?
We've talked about, we have reached out to Desi, we have reached out to our representatives on multiple different occasions. We've sent a letter to Desi, we're waiting for their response back.
Drafted by one of us.
Well, it was drafted by everybody, because there were things that we had discussed that we put in there, there were things that we took from you guys that you wanted in there that we put in as well. So it was a team effort.
Okay.
But I think that we can't just say, oh, we're not going to listen to Desi, we're not going to follow what their guidance is.
But that's what I mean. When is enough enough for you guys? I mean, we're listening to Desi guidance and it doesn't even make sense. And you're just going along with it. And they keep dangling the carrot and pushing the goalpost and you just keep going along with it like it makes sense. When is enough going to be enough?
Well, I don't think we have a choice to not
You
listen
do
to
have a
them.
choice. You have a choice. We all have a choice.
But when it's a mandate, we don't.
It's,
So that's why we're pushing back on them the best way that we can, the best way that we know how.
so if we're going back to school in September and these kids still have to wear a mask, we're still going to be going along with this then?
I think we have to follow the guidance from Desi.
With 99% of the school healthy?
If that's what they're telling us to do, like, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying if that's what we have to do, then that's what we have to do.
I mean, no disrespect for you at all. I think you're a wonderful person, but that's pretty sad for you to sit there and say, we have to do what we're told to do.
Okay.
I think we got to take one more thing into consideration. Like they just said a couple minutes ago, the higher vaccination rates doesn't necessarily mean lower transmission. And yet, like I said earlier, my son was sent home, and I don't believe the children who were surrounding him that were vaccinated also had to be tested. So we're not even taking it out of consideration either. We're just saying, well, you were around somebody, but you were vaccinated, so you don't need to be tested. But you over there, you're not vaccinated, so you have to be tested, sent home. You have to either test and stay. So again, we're letting Desi just do whatever they want. They're gonna tell us what to do, and we're just gonna do it. And yet, like they said, 99%, we're doing great as a community. We got to do something. We can't just sit back.
So
I mean, I know what you're saying. You guys are doing a great job, and you guys keep reaching out to them. But at some point, we've got to put our foot down. We can't just keep going along with the same old, same old. They keep saying, okay, boost to this, boost to that. Get this one vaccinated, get that one vaccinated, which is great if it was actually working. But I think we all can see it's technically not working. And, you know, at some point, we've got to do something as a community. We can't just let our kids sit there every single day wearing a mask. And like she said, keep moving the goalpost. It wasn't supposed to be this year. That's what we said last year. And then it was this year. And then it was October. Then it was November. Now we're talking January. We're going to keep moving it. The kids are just going to keep sitting there in class. And not to mention, I mean, I know some people disagree, that the mask isn't a big thing. But if you really break it down, I'm an EMT. I can tell you oxygen is important, carbon dioxide is not. You want to be able to breathe. You want to be able to, and not to mention, there's other things along with that as well. There are other things, there are other things with the kids in school, seeing each other's face, seeing smiles, all that stuff. All that stuff is important. Some kids learn better from teachers that they can see. I think that at this point, we've got to do something. So.
I would agree with you on, and I think several of us have expressed some frustration over the fact that vaccinated don't have to be tested and unvaccinated do.
Right.
And when we do know that vaccinated people, although to a lesser degree, still can transmit this. And so that was one of the key parts of our letter that we sent to DESE, just explaining that we're really disappointed with that. That seemed to be more of a political thing than a real thing. So I totally agree with you on that. We're just going to keep pushing on them as hard as we can. We asked for an opinion from our lawyer very early on in this. Can we not do these things? And it was very clear that there were severe implications for our district if we didn't. And so I think at this point, we're doing what's in the best interest of the district, but we're going to push DESE as hard as we can, and we're going to try to get something from them. So I appreciate you coming up. Thank you. So if there's nothing else there, I wanted to move on to the fall sports summary with Mr. Sylvia.
This mic here?
Or if you want, you could sit over here, whatever you're more comfortable with.
I'm good. I have a pretty quick summary, so I'll obviously can answer any questions anyone has as well. So we had a successful fall sports season. I was excited to see the new facilities in action, see fans in the stands. We eventually, after some work was being done in the gym, we got the gym opened up and we were able to have some volleyball games, unified basketball games in there, and even have spectators indoors too. So overall, it was a really successful season. We had 24 teams. It's the largest season that we offer of any season. Overall, we have 57 teams over the year, 24 of them are in the fall, 11 varsity, 9 sub-varsity, and 4 middle school. And then 2 intramural programs, a strength and conditioning program at the high school with the new fitness center, and then also the Nichols Middle School intramural program. So just some highlights from the season of those teams. We had a number of teams compete in postseason play. The varsity football team won the league championship, a share of the league championship, and went on to the playoffs. Cheerleading, as we heard, is going to be in the state competition Sunday at Worcester State. Kind of a highlight here, depending on how you look at it, the middle school boys soccer team didn't have enough players this year, but we were able to maintain those middle school students up on the junior varsity team, so they came up and played with the high school students on the junior varsity team. Girls and boys cross country both competed in the state meet at Gardner Municipal Golf Course. We have a couple of kids still going on to the all-state meet. Varsity golf competed in the state match. Unified basketball went on and competed in a jamboree this week, Tuesday at Durfee High School. I actually have a quick story I wanted to share of sportsmanship that I thought was really great. I heard from the coach. There was a student on one of the opposing teams that we were playing in the final game of the jamboree in unified basketball that hadn't scored a basket all year long. And in the final seconds of the game, somebody took a shot for their team. One of our partner students got the rebound, and rather than going up the court in the final seconds of the game, found the student on the opposing team, gave him the ball. The kid shot the ball and it went in, and it was his only basket of the year. So the place went crazy. I wasn't able to be there, but that was kind of the highlight that the coach told me about. So those are the kind of things in Unified that we see. That was their postseason jamboree. And then field hockey advanced to the state tournament, qualified for the state tournament. They also had an 8th grader playing on their junior varsity team this year too. So those were some of the kind of the quick highlights of the season. We had 467 participants, which the participation rate continues to, when COVID hit, kind of went down, and then we continued to see this increased rate of participation in each season. So, that was a real positive as well. Just a couple of other kind of thank yous. With the new facility, there came some new challenges. And I wanted to thank our facilities and maintenance staff and facilities director, Jim Hutchinson. We got a new concession stand, bathrooms out at the stadium, still some security, keeping that facility secure and having staff there. And those guys did a great job. At the end of a football game with 1,000 spectators, it's quite a task to shut it down and make sure it's clean and ready for the next day. So I appreciate them. We also had a ton of volunteers from the Middleborough All Sports Boosters Association that helped with concessions and just general management of the game and chain gangs and things like that for football games. So just a lot of people and a lot of hands that go into making athletics happen. And overall, it was a really successful season. And we still have a little bit left to go with the Sunday cheerleading and then the big Powder Puff game next week, followed by our football team going to Carver on Thanksgiving Day. It's an away game at 10 a.m. at Carver, and we'll have our majorettes and band and cheerleaders along with the team there. So that'll kind of wrap up our fall season. And then just looking forward to the winter, not much on that other than we have winter sports, as Natalia mentioned, starting on the 29th for everyone across the district, the middle school teams and the high school teams. And I know there's been some questions on whether or not student athletes are going to have to wear masks, because we've heard a lot about that topic. And as of now, we just follow the same guidance as school. They're school events. So until we hear more from the state association, that's what we'll be doing as far as masking for indoor sports. That includes swimming, hockey, and everything else. And then we do have, I'm happy to announce that we are bringing back our awards night. It kind of went away last year with banquets and things like that. So what we do at our awards night is going to be December 1st. It's a Wednesday night, 6 p.m. right here in the auditorium. And we try to recognize all 467 of those athletes from the season. So it is a challenge, but we're able to get it done usually under 2 hours. And we invite all the parents, coaches, students from middle school up to high school. And everyone should be in attendance, masked, and recognized for their accomplishments for the year. So that's my fall sports summary. If I missed anything or anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them now.
Sure. Can you just repeat the date for the awards night there?
Yep, December 1st.
Oh, okay.
It's Wednesday night, 6 p.m.
Great.
And that's here in the auditorium.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sylvia.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report this evening. I just want to note that given those numbers, that's really a little bit over 50% of the high school population participated in fall sports, which is pretty incredible.
Awesome. All right. So thank you, Superintendent, for your report. I guess that brings us to number 5, the third read. And for those that weren't here for the first two, anytime we change a policy, we just do 3 meetings where we accept comments on those policies. And this was about community use of school grounds and facilities. We had a lot of updates we had to make, especially to pricing for the new facilities that we have here at the high school, to allow community groups and those both in and outside of town to use our facilities. So we made those edits as part of the policy subcommittee, and this will be our third reading on that. And if anyone had any questions on the community use of school grounds or community use of school facilities, please feel free. Otherwise, we're going to, after the third meeting, we're going to vote to approve that. There are no questions.
I guess I have one.
Sure.
If someone wanted to read the policy, where would we be able to find that?
Sure. And I believe that's posted on the district website. Is that right? Yep. You can find it. I don't have internet right now, but I believe you can find it right off the homepage.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Great. So if there are no questions here, let's see. So then we'll just, the chair would entertain a motion, the acting chair would entertain a motion to approve policies KF, KFR, and KFC-R, I think it is. Yep.
So moved.
All right. So motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you very much. And thanks to everyone that helped us to edit those policies. We spent a good number of hours working on that with a whole bunch of people, including Mr. Sylvia, Hutch, Sarah, Brian, Mr. Brannigan, Sean Ciliano, and Meg and I. And so thank you, everyone. I think we brought ourselves to the point where we're kind of in line with other communities around here. And I think we actually increased access to facilities by doing that. So, all right. So that brings us to our next topic, which is the letter that we put together and sent with the help of many of you guys and the committee to DESE. And I guess the update that we have is that we did send that letter to Commissioner Riley and DESE. And I believe we read through the letter last meeting, and we appreciate all the input that we got on that. And I know I myself sent a follow-up email to the DESE email asking if we could try to get an answer to this, because we had heard from some other communities that they weren't responding. So as of right now, we have not yet got that response back. And I think what I've heard from the rest of the committee is that we'll continue kind of hammering them until we can get something. So if anyone has any comments on that, please feel free to come up now.
First, I wanted to thank you guys for taking that extra step. I know I was one of the ones really advocating for us to really do something for our kids and to push back against DESE. So I appreciate that you guys came together with the parents and worked cooperatively to, to really reach out to DESE, because right now it sounds to me, what I'm hearing from some of the school committee members, that they also are experiencing the frustration that the parents are having, that this doesn't make a lot of sense, that they're not really inclined to be fully on board with all of these things because there are a lot of arbitrary things, and there's not a clear end point to this. So I do appreciate that you guys are working cooperatively. I don't think every community is doing that. So that's wonderful that we're able to do that. Parents and school committee can work together. And I know I hammer you guys pretty hard, but it's just because I want to advocate the best I can and encourage others to advocate. I have to say, I think Mr. Young pushed for a bullet-pointed letter, which I can appreciate. His style was to maybe make it clear cut, like just put the questions in there, keep the fluff out, and just kind of seek answers for clarity. But I felt that in doing so, the letter was kind of limp from an advocacy standpoint. So in advocating for our students and sending a clear message, it wasn't. It really was just questions like, can you answer this so we can clarify this to the parents who are questioning it, which was not exactly what I was hoping for, but I still appreciate the effort either way. So I guess my next question to you guys is that my understanding is that none of the communities that pushed back got a response. Sandwich has actually sent a second letter as of September 15th, very much similar to their first letter, in stating that DESE is not really giving this is arbitrary. There's no scientific evidence to support that we need to do this, that the children are at risk, that this is benefiting them in any way. And we know that there are harms. And when there's 99% of the kids are well, we have to really evaluate what the risk benefit is of wearing a mask. If the kids are well, then all we have is risk. So it's risk of being, not having enough oxygen throughout the day, of, not being able to see other people's expressions, poor communication, all the things we've talked about, the social emotional piece, the clear communication piece, all those things are harms to our kids. And right now to me, I'm like, we're harming our kids because what? 1% have sniffles. So I think my question is, what's the next step? How do we work together? Obviously, our emails are going unanswered, our calls are going unanswered. So what do we do together to collaborate together to make this push forward? Because right now, DESE keeps moving the goalpost. Oh, it's January 15th, then it'll be March, then it'll be the end of the school year. And, what they're doing is buying themselves time until they can get this vaccine added to the school schedule and then required for everybody. This is the carrot before the stick. So that will come regardless. We need to get these masks off. How do we do that together?
I think I would say, as just one member of this committee, that if we don't get an answer back fairly soon, I think I'd like to push for some additional communication to them, kind of a little more forceful. I think we deserve some clarification, and it doesn't really seem right that if we are going to be held to the rules that DESE is giving us, that we can't get answers on
Right.
these things. So I think I'd like to have a discussion with the committee on that for the next meeting. If we don't have an answer by the next meeting, it would have been over a month.
Mhm.
And I think I'd like to just get ideas from the committee and see what we can do to step up the pressure.
Is there a way to make some sort of working group with parents and school committee members and parents from both sides of this aisle, kind of? I think there are other parents who have differing opinions, that they need to be part of this too, because everybody needs to have a voice in this. So is that something that can happen, some sort of working group where we can kind of do this outside of this back and forth school committee?
Oh, sure. I mean, I actually think, well, first of all, this is an excellent venue for those types of things to happen, but I also think that all school committee members are open. I wouldn't say 24/7 because, they have families and sleep,
Sure.
but for communication about these things, any ideas that families have and they want to send to us, please do. I know a lot of us would probably also be happy to accept phone calls, but I don't want to volunteer.
Yeah, I
everyone.
just don't want to, be, one to one to one to one. I feel like a group coming together where we can bring our ideas and kind of discuss what's the next action, because emails seem to be falling flat. We're not getting much. I mean, I can suggest that a more strongly worded letter be what we do next, but I honestly don't believe we're going to get an answer. I do believe that DESE's going to continue to do what they're going to do, unencumbered by anything. So I don't, I'm kind of running out of ideas, and I'm looking to,
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so my feeling is this problem's a political one. Like one of the gentlemen mentioned that these are all political appointees that are making these decisions.
right,
So
not
it's a-
elected
it's a
officials,
political-
right? They're not elected, they're appointed, right?
So it's a political problem. I know, unfortunately, Mr. Young's not here tonight. I'm sure when he comes back, he did have a discussion with our lawyer about the implications of what would happen if we didn't do the mask mandate. And we had very clear feedback that, yes, bad things would happen. So I'm sure he'll address that at the next meeting.
Oh, that would be
So
great
one
if you
thing-
could clarify that.
So one thing I would recommend is, personally, in my past, when something like this was going on, you can form a political action committee. And you can have a group. And you can actually fundraise for it. You can actually come together and get membership and start to gain numbers. Because if you get a group of people together that will all be working together, then you can actually be a group that does that.
Well, we kind of have a group that's doing that. We're communicating and we're working
Yeah.
together. And there's obviously legal action against DESE already. So, those things are already moving forward.
Okay.
But obviously that takes time to play out, and our kids are suffering in the interim. So I just feel like there's, we've got to be able to come together and figure out some other way.
Yeah, and I've also, we do have a subcommittee that can have a meeting. In fact, I'll talk to Mr. Young about that.
Right.
It'll have to be posted like a public meeting, but it will be open to public.
Okay.
And we can have a discussion about your concerns and steps we could take. And then that subcommittee meeting could actually draft a proposal to the committee for the full committee.
Can the school's attorney or can the school take a position in which the school district sues DESE for these arbitrary rules? Is that something the school can do?
I'm not sure about that.
Well, I think that would certainly be something we'd have to talk to our school lawyer about.
Sure.
But I think that in answer to your question, I think that what Mr. Stevens suggested might be a really great idea, to have a COVID subcommittee meeting that we could all sit down and talk about these things, like you said, in a little more conversational way, probably.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I don't mean to come here and always hammer you with this, but I'm going to keep coming here and hammering you with this because, that's the best way that I can advocate. I think that's kind of what I do in my career. I advocate, and I'm going to keep advocating for the best education for my kid and for every kid. And it's clear that this community is probably unlikely to reach their 80% benchmark. Which even if we did, I would argue with you, if you chose to do that route, because I think that's discrimination and segregation. And it's clear that this vaccine does not prevent or stop transmission. So it's really an erroneous, measure to take. But I don't think we're there. So it's like our kids will forever be stuck in a mask. because they're going to continue to utilize this. And my thought is that even when they put this shot on the required list for school, they're going to continue to require any unvaccinated child to wear a mask. They're going to use this as a punitive measure. It's been done in the past in healthcare, so it's going to move forward. In this setting, it's clearly played out. So, but that would be great. I appreciate if we could do like a working group or subcommittee, whatever you want to call it. I'm happy to be part of it.
That sounds great.
Yeah, so I'll work on that, and I just want to let, the 80% vaccination rate and the policy for unmasking only vaccinated children, that's the one I have particular objection to.
Yeah.
That is in our letter, and I do want to read, I mean, not everybody goes on the website to read all this stuff. I do want to read the last paragraph, because I think it's important. I know Mr. Young feels this way about this public comment, the way you guys are given the opportunity to speak at our meetings, and that's on purpose. The last paragraph of our letter to DESE reads, "We ask these questions as elected officials to get clarity and have answers for our community. During the special meeting of the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, there was no opportunity for the public to express their views. Given the lack of participation, we decided to submit these questions prior to the next extension of these policies and hope that we can provide answers." So, and that's the end of the quote. So it's just, yeah, we're frustrated. I know Mr. Young is frustrated that DESE has been doing this the whole pandemic. They've been just throwing things down there, and with no, you know, it has not been handled well, in my opinion.
Right. Well, they wait till the last minute,
Yeah, they
even
wait
though
till
they
the last
probably
minute.
have it planned
It's like,
months in advance. They're delivering that information to you, you know, the week before school
So,
starts. Yeah.
we understand your frustration. I believe Ms. Janess said, and I agree, that we are all doing what we think is best for the district to keep our district running. That's our job as a school committee. And we will try to get this, you know, try to get your questions answered. I will set up a subcommittee group, and I have your email address, so I'll make sure that you get email. It'll be posted as a public meeting, but I'll make sure that you get notified.
I understand your sentiment on doing what's best for the district in the sense that you want to, you know, maintain a good appearance and a good standing. But I think what's best for the district is what's best for each and every child to be able to make that choice. So when you do that, then you will be doing what's best for the district, because every child will be able to learn better if they're either making their choice individually to wear a mask or to not wear a mask, or to be able to see their friend, or be able to take their mask off for the 30 seconds to be in a picture with their friend, or for 3 minutes to be in a video. I think as soon as we do what's best for our children, we will be doing what's best for the district.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Honestly, it's refreshing to hear you guys say that you think this is kind of ridiculous too of DESE, because we've been feeling this way for a long time. So is it possible to maybe invite a representative from DESE to come to one of our meetings and explain their position to us? Because just like they don't answer you, they don't answer us, and they haven't answered us for months. So
I would say absolutely.
Yeah, we could ask.
yeah, how do we go about doing that? I think we should.
I think the chair would have to reach out and try to set that up.
Yeah, do you guys have like a point person at DESE, or is it just like us, you send an email or a voicemail and?
No, Mr. Young, Chair Young has contacts at DESE, so I'm sure he could reach out.
I want to request that this happens, because, I mean, they can't just hide in their little building and not speak to any of us or explain themselves to us. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. They have to, just like you, have to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
Sure.
thanks.
Yeah, thank you. All right, any other comments on the letter? All right, seeing none, I'd like to move on
I do
to,
have a question.
oh yeah, please do.
Sorry.
Yep.
I'm looking at this letter. Let me get it back. All right, it's dated the
22nd.
22nd. Was that sent on that date, the 22nd?
I don't know.
Okay,
The chair.
I believe it was.
okay. Just want to see if that was actually the date. All right.
All right, so that brings us then to the MSBA, the building project. Mr. Lynch, would you like
I
to?
could provide a short update that we do have the parking lot turnover scheduled for the Monday following the Thanksgiving break. Is that correct, Mr. Brannigan? We're hoping, yeah. We've been hoping for a couple of months. I saw the sweeper, the street sweeper out there parked today, which is encouraging because that's one of the last steps where they sweep the parking lot and before the final coat of asphalt. That's a timely matter. The asphalt, putting down the asphalt, luckily we had a warm day today, but it looks like it's going to be turning cold the next week or so, and some of these asphalt plants shut down at certain dates and certain times. And I'm hoping to obviously to meet that window because that top coat is going to be obviously very important in the completion because that will mean we can paint and make it usable. Right, I know today there was a lot of Marguerite Concrete was on site and did a lot of pouring of a lot of the pads that needed to be pouring, the sidewalks, et cetera, around the building. So that was encouraging. So that's the last big piece we're waiting for right now. And when that's done, there'll be some punch list, some small work be done in between now and spring. And in the spring, they're going to plan to come and finish the tennis courts, the outdoor basketball court, and the final field, which is to the left, if you're looking at the field, the JV baseball field, that will finish off that lacrosse soccer field, which is that last piece that goes onto that land that we purchased from the Archdiocese of Boston. So that'll be the last piece in the spring. But the big piece right now in the next couple of weeks is to get that parking lot and getting up and running. So that becomes something usable and takes away a huge headache for the high school, which is traffic.
I bet. All right, any questions for the superintendent on that? No, I think any questions from the public on that? All right, I think hearing none, the chair would vice chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
So motion and a second, any discussion? Yep,
I wasn't here on the 9th, so I don't think.
you want to abstain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we pull them out?
You can pull that one out.
And is that for quorum reasons that we would want to pull it out? Because I believe we can still, you can just abstain, is that correct?
You can vote on A, B, and D and then do C separately.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
We'll pull out, is it just the 9th?
Just the 9th, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll do a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of the September 9th meeting minutes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then, so I guess we then need a motion to approve the September 9th. Is that why we did it this way, so that you don't have to
Yeah.
vote on it? Okay,
So
so,
then I'll make a motion to approve the September 9th, 2021 meeting minutes.
all right, second, motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Abstain.
sorry, right, Meg abstained. All right, so thank you very much. We approved the consent agenda. I believe that the chair normally likes to recognize those who have left the district. And we just have a couple resignations. And Mr. Lynch, if you had anything you wanted to say about any of these, please feel free to jump in. Anne Marie Bateman from the high school, Cassidy Marble from the MEC, Melissa McNamara from the HPB, and Melissa Odie Morrison from the MEC. We thank them for their service here in the district. Also have a bunch of new hires as well, and welcome to the family. I believe then that, do we want to talk about the PTA fundraiser under other? And
Does not require a vote.
okay, all right, sure. Okay, so I think that's essentially the end of our agenda. So the vice chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion second.
And our next meeting is December 2nd.
Next meeting, December 2nd, right here, same time. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, everyone.